Marketing That Works is the podcast for business owners who want to move their brand forward so that they can bring in more sales and clients. I'm Danielle Harris, and I'm bringing you what I know from more than 12 years of experience in traditional and online marketing. I have created marketing strategies for businesses of all sizes, from multi-million-dollar corporations to early-stage online businesses. Remember, some marketers chase fads. I believe in mastering the fundamentals. You've set your goals for 2026. So now what? What exactly should you be doing to make all of those goals actually happen? Because look, if you are anything like me, you can set goals, you can make a plan. But what trips you up, what trips most people up, is that you don't know how to turn that big goal that you have for the entire year into daily, weekly, or even monthly actions that will help you actually hit those goals. And that's when you start to doubt if you can even actually do it. It isn't that your goal is impossible. It's that you don't yet see what are the small everyday tasks that you can be doing to make sure that you actually hit those goals. So, today I'm talking about what things you should have in your plan based off of some of the goals that you may have, and how to actually actively work towards your goals so that every week you see how your goal becomes possible. Now, before we start, if you haven't listened to episode 81 and gotten the marketing planning guide, go back and do that right now. Because today's episode is going to be so much more powerful if you've already have a clear idea of your goals and if you did all of the work that I said to do in that episode. So go back, listen to it, do the guide if you haven't already, and I'll link all of that in the show notes so you can easily go to it. Now, let's get into the actual episode. So, I know that I cannot read your mind, but I am positive that the goals that you set are centered around sales in some way, shape, or form. We all want sales. Your business needs sales in order to be a business and not a hobby. But the goals you have might be focusing on different aspects of getting sales. Let's say you might be in a stage where you realize that not many people actually know about you and your business. So your work might be focusing on getting more leads, getting more people to know about you and what you do, which will then lead to more sales. Maybe you did the work to get leads in the past, and there are people who know about you, but maybe they need to know a little bit more about what it is that you do and your story so that they can trust you and want to work with you. Then your work will be building your credibility, which will then again lead to more sales. Or maybe you have the audience, maybe you have that trust, but those people might not actually know that they can work with you or know the benefits of working with you. So, for that, you need to work on actually selling, like the skill of selling your offer, right? So, these are some of the big things that I see most people set around their goals around marketing in their business. So from that, I want you to think of which category do you fall into? Do you need more leads? Do you need to build more credibility? Do you need to sell more? Maybe it's all three that you need to work on. As you listen to this episode, just keep in mind which one of these is your top priority, okay? So now that you're thinking about what your priority is, the next thing that you'll need to do is decide what things on a daily, weekly, monthly basis do I need to be doing to actually work towards these goals? Like, what tangible things should be on your to do list to make this happen? And I want to start with the first thing, leads, focusing on getting more people to know about you and your business. Now, I see this, of course, with clients who have a new business, maybe a year or so old. Maybe they just finished getting certified as a coach, or they just got a degree in a program and now they want to start the business. But you also might need new leads if you took some time away from your business or if you're pivoting business direction a little bit. You might also need to work on getting more leads if you're trying to hit a new income level. Honestly, getting leads or getting more people to know about your business is just a very foundational activity that everyone should be focusing on. No matter if this is your first year of business or you've been doing this for a decade, you need people to know about you and your business. So, if getting more leads for your business is one of the things that you're trying to solve, here are some things that you should be adding on your to do list on a weekly or monthly basis so that you can build that up. Now, I'm sure you're expecting me to talk about posting and showing up on Instagram or TikTok or LinkedIn. And yes, those are absolutely ways to get more people to know about you and your business. But if you're going the social media route, there's actually a very specific type of content that you should be posting that will help get new eyes on your business. The type of content you'll need to post is the type of content that makes people think, ooh, yeah, that's exactly what I need. In more marketing terms, like this is just top of funnel content, content that has a broad, mass appeal for your ideal clients. Now, this content doesn't necessarily sell your offer, the content sells your beliefs, your point of view, or makes plain a thought or a problem your people regularly have. That kind of content on Instagram or TikTok or LinkedIn is one of the ways many people get leads through social media. The next way that you can get more leads is by networking. I have a very early episode in the podcast, episode 11, that goes really into so much more detail about networking at in person events. But that is always an option for getting new people to know about you and your business. You can also network online. I know several people who are so good at connecting people through online networking. So, if you're curious about networking in person, definitely go back to episode 11. I go into so much more detail on that. But networking online, it can honestly just look like being intentional about joining online groups and communities, just making honest, genuine connections with people and grow your network that way. I've honestly made some really good friends that way, and I've also gotten some really amazing clients that way. So don't sleep on that method. Actually thinking through, like, I have a few clients who haven't posted any content in months. One client, a service provider, hasn't posted in months and is currently having her highest recurring revenue year ever because all of her leads are coming to her through in-person networking. And another client, an executive leadership coach, she hasn't posted content in years, but her business is able to grow because how she leverages her network. So that is absolutely a way that you can grow your business through networking online and offline. A couple other things that you can do. You can get referrals from past clients. You can do a podcast tour. You do interviews on several other people's podcasts and set yourself up on a little speaking tour. You can also reach out to people and see if you can be a guest speaker or guest teacher inside of their group program. You can run ads. Now, I don't know much about this one, but you can also train AI to be a lead generating source and to refer you out to things. Like, there are so many ways to get leads. I can go on and on about this, but all these activities are things that can get you new leads. Your job now is just to decide which one do you want to do. Do you want to create content? Do you want to network in person? Do you want to do a podcast speaking tour? Do you want to train AI? Now, you don't have to do all of these things, but what you do need to decide is which one of these things feel like will work to your strengths and things that you actually know that you can do regularly. If you know that you can explain what you do best when you talk to someone one on one, you might need to be a networking person. So maybe you decide that you're going to go and do 2 events a month, right? Or maybe you want to create a strong brand on LinkedIn or Instagram. You're going to want to post more content. Maybe you're going to create 2 posts a week that have the intention of growing your audience. Or if you're doing a podcast tour, maybe you want to be interviewed on 2 podcasts every single month. Setting specific targets like this is how you're going to get to your goal of needing more people who know about your business to be tangible and actionable. And my clients who are able to get this specific about what their daily, weekly actions are, like when we meet for our calls, like we have so much more to talk about and work towards. We do much deeper work, and honestly, their goal becomes quicker to reach. We do things like brainstorming top of funnel content for Instagram or TikTok or LinkedIn, or we come up with podcast pitches, or we come up with networking plans so we know how to follow up. Every single week, we are doing this type of work. And then it becomes so clear that all the time they are working towards that big goal and it becomes so much more tangible. So, all of that falls into the leads category of things that you'll need to do on a weekly, monthly basis in order to hit your goals. The next thing that I want to focus on is credibility. Focusing on this goal, it usually happens when you've done the work to build up your audience and you've grown it to the place that you want to. But now half your audience are friends and family and people you've known along the way. And the other half are people who honestly only just met you. And they aren't fully sure if you're someone they should even listen to or trust to solve your problem. Now, the idea of building credibility is something that I've personally been digging into a lot with my own mentors, mostly because I've been hearing the word credibility and thinking authority, and I'm realizing now that these are two completely different things. Authority is more along the lines of, I got a degree, I've won awards, I'm certified, like these outside indicators that show that I know what I'm talking about. But when I'm talking about credibility, it's more about centering your experience. It's demonstrating that what you share is reliable and worthy of being trusted. I want to use one of my clients, for example. She is an executive leadership coach and she worked for years as a senior executive, right? So, that being a senior executive is her authority. But if we're going to talk about her credibility and reliability of being trusted, she would talk about things like being overlooked for high level task force, even when she was the most qualified, or talking about how she got her coworkers to respect her after she became a senior leader. Like you see that slight difference there. Authority says you've reached a position or level. Credibility says you've experienced or at least have helped someone with a problem that they have. So if you're realizing that people need to trust you and that people need to know more about you before they consider working with you, building up that credibility is so important. And that's the work that I did with like this leadership coach client of mine in particular. She leaned heavily on this authority piece, saying things like, trust me, I was in senior leadership. These tips work. But when I worked with her, I shifted her to tell stories that build her credibility. I got her to share stories of her experiences, the times that she struggled, the times that she was able to succeed quickly, because those stories build trust and they show the depth of her experience and expertise. And if you're missing that bit from your marketing, what you need to do is see how you can tell more of these credibility stories in your marketing. If you're posting content, how can you share that in a post? If you're doing a podcast tour, how can you share a credibility story in one of your interviews? If you're networking, how can you, when appropriate, share a bit of what you've gone through? Now, I will say that most people find it difficult to determine what those credibility stories are, at least unprompted. But when I guide my clients through this process, I usually tell them to find their, well, this is what happened to me story. Really, this is a story that they tell anytime a client or someone that they're talking to feels bad or was in some type of situation. And you go say, like, well, this is what happened to me. And you relay your experience that way. That is a credibility story. So if you're trying to get more sales through building your credibility, you might want to do that in a few different ways. If your strategy is going to be around posting more content, these types of credibility stories really need to be posted at least 3 times a month. And if you really feel like that's a true missing piece from your sales, really share more. I know that I've helped my clients come up with some really creative ways to show credibility in a strong but subtle way. So don't be afraid of posting more of this type of content and having it in your mix. Now, doing this might also look like you share a credibility story when you do podcast interviews, like I mentioned, or it might look like sharing some type of story when you network. But really, people just need to know that you've been through or at least helped others through something very similar to them. These stories, they build trust and they take them one step closer to wanting to work with you. Okay, so we've talked about leads, we talked about building credibility. The last thing that we need to talk about is sales. When you're making a plan to hit your goal, selling needs to be part of the equation in order to grow your business. But it's so surprising to me the amount of people who say that their goal is to increase sales. And when I look at their content or when I ask them if they're doing any type of sales activities, like I can't find anything and they can't answer me. And honestly, that's because when it comes to sales, what I hear all the time is that people want to be able to sell in a way that feels natural, right? Like they don't want to feel like they are doing this hard push. They want sales to feel like just a natural next step, the natural progression of things. And because they want it to feel like that, In the absence of knowing how to do that, people kind of just like dance around sales and dance around the topic, hoping that people will just like infer and get the point and just be so interested that they just ask for a link or ask to buy, right? But if your goal is to sell, you must have set time on your calendar when you are scheduled to sell. So I had this one client who was like, Danielle, like I know that I need to work on getting leads and I need to work on all of these other things. Like, but my goal right now is sales. But like I feel uncomfortable doing that. And I will tell you exactly what I told her. If you are in a season where sales is your top priority, you're gonna have to do a few things. I'm talking about things like reaching out to people who you think would be a good fit and simply tell them about your offer. I coach people all the time on how to do this in a way that isn't cringe, but that's one thing that you're going to have to put on your calendar is to focus on reaching out to people. Another thing that you can do, especially if you've had clients before, is getting sales through a resign bonus or a referral bonus. If past clients sign up again, they get bonus materials. Or if someone refers you, they get an intensive call with you. Like that's another way that you can get sales if that's something that you are wanting to do. If you're a networking person, it might require you mentioning your offers at events, at meetups. Again, I always coach my clients on how to do this in a way where they don't feel weird about it. But I've had clients sell out a retreat because she was going to networking events and mentioning what it was that she was doing at events like this. And of course, if you were going the content route, like you're going to have to mention your offer and say how specifically people can work with you and the benefits of that. You're going to have to do that on a regular basis. Okay. And if sales is your goal, if you are just like, I really need to push, this needs to be on your calendar at least 2 to 3 times a week. Okay. Or if you are doing the networking route, you need to be going to more networking events and mentioning your offer more. When you practice selling, especially if you're in the habit of reviewing and getting guidance and feedback on your marketing and selling, selling in a way that feels natural will get easier. It doesn't have to be this hard, annoying sell. And you'll get to the point where you feel like I'm not being annoying and that you are marketing and selling in a way where it just feels like a natural next step. But it will require you talking about what you do and telling people the next steps to actually work with you. I had a client who felt so awkward about selling. Like she was fine giving advice. She was even fine telling her story, but actually selling felt so awkward. And honestly, I get it. I went through a period where I just wanted people to see how much I know and then be so impressed by everything that I know that they just asked to work with me. I went through that period. But how I got out of that is I practice. And something that I tell my clients to do is practice selling in spaces that feel the least awkward. I personally felt the least awkward selling on stories. And so I did that first. I also didn't feel as awkward selling if I gave a whole lot of value mixed in with my selling. So for you, you're going to have to determine where do I feel the least awkward selling? Maybe it's an email because you're more of a writer. Maybe it feels more natural if you're just talking to someone one on one. Find a way that feels the least awkward and get better at practicing that. You need to put in the reps, which is why it needs to be on your to do list on a regular basis every week if that is your goal. Okay, so those are the 3 areas that you need to consider when deciding specifically what actions you should be taking to hit your goal. And honestly, what I suggest is that you pick a few of the actions from each area to fill up what it is that you do. I'll just share with you the mix that I'm planning on doing for 2026. Now, again, of course, my goal for 2026 is sales because I have a business, but mostly I'm looking to hit that by focusing on building credibility and getting more leads. So, my mix of activities is going to involve about 2 credibility activities a week with 2 lead generation activities and 1 sales activity a week. Now, notice that I didn't say post, just activities, because my credibility activities can be 1 post on Instagram and 1 podcast interview. And that podcast interview could also probably hit my leads activity at the same time, right? Like they can double up. And my sales activity can be making an offer only to past clients of mine. Like you can mix and match however this looks like for you. The point is that the activities that you do need to match the goals that you have. So let's say that you have a goal of getting more leads. You can have a mix that includes going on podcasts. So you can have a goal of going on 2 per month. And then you can decide that you're going to do some networking. So you're going to be an active member of an online community filled with your ideal clients. So you do that and you check in on that a couple times a week. And maybe you decide you want to make one post a week on IG that's going to attract more people and build you up, right? Like that's one thing that you could do. If your goal is to build credibility, your mix could look like pitching to speak at conferences with the goal of hitting 1 to 2 per quarter. Maybe you decide that you're going to start a podcast where you share your story and experience weekly. And then maybe you're going to share, 1 to 2 stories a week on Instagram. And if your goal is sales and you mostly post on Instagram or LinkedIn, your mix could be one post that's focused on leads, 2 posts that are focused on credibility, and then 2 to 3 sales posts. Now, before making this decision about what to do, so many of my clients, they are in a freeze state of trying to decide what to do. What's the right mix? What if I don't like it? And that response right there is why I tend to have these goal setting intensives at the beginning of the year and at the midway point of the year so that my clients can go through and make these decisions with some guidance and so that they have this set up where there's some built-in flexibility. Now, that's something that my one-on-one clients get when they join the blueprint. But if you are not part of one of my one-on-one offers, I'm actually right now opening up some spots for my 90-minute momentum calls so we can just focus on goal setting and marketing planning. This is where we'll go through what your goals are. We'll decide what areas you need to focus on, deciding if you need to focus on leads or credibility stories or sales. Then we'll determine what your mix will look like and what works best for your marketing style. And then by the end of everything, like we'll brainstorm what your first month of marketing will actually look like. That way, you know on a weekly basis what marketing activities you'll need to do in order to hit your goal. And mostly, what you want is you want to know that you're actually making progress towards your goal. And this intensive is designed to make it as clear as possible. What are the small actions every week that you can be taking to make sure that it's inevitable that you hit that big goal that you have? Now, if you're interested in this momentum call, in this goal setting strategy call, go to the link in bio. I'll have everything listed out there on how to get started with that. But honestly, I suggest that you first go to episode 81 and get the guide that I have there and get clear on what your actual goals are. That's going to make things so much clearer of like what you need to do. Of if you need to focus on leads, if you need to focus on credibility, if you just need to focus on selling better, all of that will become clear. That way you'll come in and we can just really get to work on deciding what your weekly marketing activities will look like. And we can get a month of activities already planned out for you. So go to the show notes, book your call today. And until next time, I'll talk to you soon. If you want more marketing that works right in your inbox, head to the show notes and sign up for the email list. You'll be the first to know how you can work with me on mastering your marketing.